Whoa. Hey, how are you doing?
I am good. How are you
Well,
today?
I'm doing well. Welcome. It's been a busy day, I'm sure, for both of us.
Yes, sir. That is correct.
Cool, cool, cool. Well, thanks so much for joining me today. As soon as I got the idea for this podcast, I knew that I ultimately wanted to have you as a guest because um, I don't know, just made a lot of sense. And I'm glad that you decided to join me.
Thank you so much for thinking of me. I was also super pumped to see that you were doing this thing. So it's
Yeah.
awesome to be a part of it.
Cool. So, who who in the world are you?
Well, my name is Megan Hetfield. I use she, her pronouns. I'm, professionally, I'm a peer recovery support specialist and a New York State certified recovery peer advocate. I'm someone who identifies as no longer having a chaotic relationship with substances. And I am just a person living their life here in upstate New York and trying to enjoy all the things here that make life a little sweeter.
Well, that's the purpose of this podcast is um, raising the profile of individuals who have resolved a chaotic relationship with substances, however that manifests itself. Um, Data show there's over 20 million of us who at one point or another had wrestled with our relationship with substances and no longer do. And how we identify is our business. But the fact is, many of us have gone on to thrive in this life and have fun. And you look like you have fun. You share your life on social media. Um, share your life with others, and many of us have also committed our lives to helping other people to come get them some of what we got to, and that's exactly what you're doing.
Yeah, it's true. Like when, for so long our lives revolved around, substances, whether that was just to feel normal or to make something fun more fun or to like medicate for physical pain or emotional pain. Once we kind of change that relationship and start to notice that the substances are now becoming the issue instead of the thing that was like helping us, for a lot of people, including myself, it's kind of like, all right, well, now what? And that's the tough part. We spend so much of our time and energy, like trying to just get through the day, that when that's no longer the issue and life is stable, it's kind of like, well, who am I now? And I absolutely went through that. And for me, it took me on a journey that I'm still on and still reinventing myself and still trying to figure out. And, every day I'm learning something new about myself and becoming more interested in like expanding, my networks of people and, the experiences that I'm having. And, I have had many different twists and turns and, versions of what I think is fun and who I am and who I want to do it with.
Right on. You raise a very important point that I believe does not get talked about enough. Why do people use drugs? Why do some people successfully use drugs for those reasons? Why do some people have problematic use, some chaotic, and some eventually receive a diagnosis and potentially treatment? So, a great segue. H- how did we meet?
Yeah. So we met in a super amazing book club that you spearheaded, and I was super grateful
Michelle.
that you pulled us in to have these brave conversations about Carl Hart's book, Drug Use for Grownups.
Right.
And as someone who considers myself a harm reductionist and somebody that is 100% behind, ending the racist war on drugs and having sensible drug policies in America, I was really excited to dive into that book and having like other folks to kind of digest it with. And, that notion of just remaining curious and
Hmm.
having an open mind towards someone else's experiences. We were able to do that in this group, and it was a really safe space and just an awesome way to connect with other folks who were also trying to learn about this topic.
Yeah, I'm really grateful that you reached out when I posted about that. I saw the book was coming out, and I knew that we must read it, and that a diverse group of individuals must read it. But I think particularly folks like you and I, who are, I think, maybe cut a bit from the same cloth in how we came up through resolving our chaotic drug issue, and how we integrated ourselves into systems of care, and then came to understand that these systems might need a little shaking up, and people within these systems had internal biases that ought to be explored, and transformation was needed so badly.
Yeah. So for me, every single time I was approached about my substance use, it was, you have a disease, you're an addict, there's no cure. The only thing you can do is embrace total abstinence for the rest of your life, or, X, Y, and Z is going to happen to you and it ain't going to be good. And being that the first time that happened to me, I was 18 years old,
Mm.
and just a kid who was self-medicating for all sorts of reasons, trauma, physical pain, suicidal ideation, depression, you name it. I was like the definition of an angsty teenager who was just trying to survive. And, when we're told that, it's so black and white, and it doesn't honor our autonomy, or there's no curiosity about the why around our substance use. And the fact that we're just told, like, right away, like, this is who you are. We don't care what you say. Drugs are bad. You need to stop them or else. That is really just such a limiting notion that cuts off so many opportunities for people to have their own journeys of figuring out what substance use means to them, if they are able to do it. And, for an 18-year-old kid, like, to tell that kid, like, you're never going to do drugs or drink ever again. I mean, I wasn't even legally allowed to drink. And so that notion doesn't appeal to most people. And to be honest, like, since I've been working as a peer, I have yet to encounter someone whose initial reaction to this conversation is, oh yeah, abstinence. That's what I want. I want to be in 12-step. I want to go to rehab. I want to embrace total abstinence forever. Like, the more intuitive thing, seemingly, because the thing I heard the most often, and I don't know if this is the same for you, is people saying, like, yeah, I'm having a really big problem with this certain substance, and I think maybe I need to abstain or cut back. That's most people's initial reaction. A lot of folks don't initially have the desire to be in a so-called, like, recovery community, or to give up everything forever. They more are looking to sort of examine their relationship with substances, and that was never offered to me. It was just abstinence or else.
Indeed, indeed. My interaction with intervention was also at the age of 18, and there was a singular focus on the substance and the use of that substance, and why do you use this substance chaotically? And that was the focus, and there was an overlooking of my childhood trauma, of my potential co-occurring mental disorders, of the early childhood use that had led to just an absence of coping skills and interpersonal skills. So right away there was a singular focus on you're spiritually and bodily different from your fellows, and you can never introduce this substance into your body again. I was like, hey, I get that, but why? And yeah, I'm glad to see that there is a rising focus on not so much why the substance, but why the pain, and not so much a singular focus on the medical model, but more exploring the complexities of trauma and disconnection, and medications, and alternative treatments, and alternative mutual aid. And that's what's appealing about what you're getting into as well. Is for many years, I know when I entered into this space, my only option was a specific 12-step peer recovery mutual aid society. that I was a bit of a misfit in. But now you help to facilitate a group called Harm Reduction Works. And I've attended a couple meetings, and I find it a wonderful thing. There's all recovery meetings as well, and we could just talk about, whatever you want to in the mutual aid space.
Yeah, so exciting. Harm Reduction Works. So Harm Reduction Works is very similar in some ways to other mutual aid supports that other folks might be familiar with, like 12-step, for example, in that it is a scripted meeting for folks who may or may not have an issue with substances. It is replicable, so folks can start one in their community if they like. They can start one on Zoom, and it's just a place where people can come as they are and get support, and not shame and not judgment, and really just feel like safe to talk about their relationship with substances. And whether that means that they're on medications like methadone, Suboxone, et cetera, or whether that means they're on medical cannabis, or whether that means abstinence is the best form of harm reduction for them.
Mhm.
It really just includes everyone's specific goals, and it sort of recognizes that we're all not the same. Like, my idea of a healthy life, a happy life, is going to be very different from someone else's. My goals are going to be different, and that doesn't mean that we can't, like, respectfully share space and offer compassion for each other. And one of the things that I think is the most sort of the biggest implications of the Harm Reduction Works meeting is it's the only meeting that someone can attend where just the script alone contains information that could possibly save a life. It literally spells out ways to stay safer if you are actively engaged in substance use. Like, if you haven't used for a while, please be mindful of decreased tolerance. If you're using any substance, have naloxone, know how to use it. And the most important one, never use alone. Because
Mm.
if you're alone, there's no one there that can administer naloxone, call for help, whatever is needed. So I think there was just a great need for a meeting that people could come to, not only to give and get support, but to learn about ways to keep each other safer, also ways to prevent, some of the things, the harms that are caused by like using syringes, sharing syringes, and not taking care of yourself in other ways. This is a place where people can really learn a lot, and not just folks that are actively using, but their family members. The meetings that we host are open to anyone who is interested in learning about harm reduction for any reason. We do have focus groups specifically for people who are actively using substances, but most of the meetings are open and inclusive to all people. Now there's like specialty meetings. There's a BIPOC meeting. There's LGBTQ. There's women and non-binary. There's family and friends, people in the parenting role. There's a neurodivergent meeting now. There's just like so many different flavors now, and ways and places for people to just feel comfortable and supported and heard. And I can't tell you how many people come and share, like, wow, this is the first time I've been able to share in a group that, like, my recovery isn't based on abstinence anymore, like, or I'm using this medication that I'm not allowed to talk about in my other group. And that to me is just absolutely essential, that folks can feel safe to speak their truth, no matter if it's going to be judged or shamed in other places.
Absolutely. Oh man, so deeply grateful that that space is available for people, and that you've been hearing that feedback affirming what y'all are offering. So do you want to shout a little bit about what you do professionally before we get into what you do for fun?
Yeah, sure. I would love to. So as I said before, I'm a peer recovery support specialist, and I've had the absolute amazing opportunity to do this in many different settings, like hospital emergency rooms, community-based, actual clinics, like medication for assisted recovery clinics. And now I'm doing it virtually through an app platform, also through Zoom and messaging called We Connect Health Management. And the idea is based off of something called contingency management, which basically is like, everybody likes getting prizes. It doesn't matter if you're 5 or 55, we all like rewards. for doing a good job. And so what we do as peers is help folks decide what their goals are. And it's not the goals I want for them, it's the goals they want for themselves. And for every thing that they establish that's going to be helpful for them when they check into that particular appointment or meeting, or anything that they're doing to engage their wellness, they get points towards gift cards. So they actually receive like prizes, whether it's money or a gift card in the mail, for reaching their own goals. And this is an evidence-based harm reduction strategy that is proven to work. And we also host like 8 online recovery meetings a day, including a Harm Reduction Works meeting, all recovery meetings, which is another beautiful place. I just came from hosting the 12 p.m. all recovery meeting. It's my Thursday slot. And it's just a beautiful place where people from all walks of life, all over the world, come to check in about their mental health, their physical health, whether it's like a process disorder, like, gambling, or whether it's for substance use. It's a place where people can come to just like be themselves, get support, check in. So we host those meetings, and also just engage with people through the app so that they can feel supported and work on their wellness plans.
Yeah, I mean, I think We Connect rocks, absolutely. And connection is always key, and contingency management is evidence supported support for folks, and showing some promise with methamphetamine recovery, or moderation as well. So in the absence of many medications that we were hoping to develop, maybe, I don't know. But recovery then, I ask everyone who is on the show, what is recovery? And we don't all agree on what it is, nor should we. But how about you, Megan? What's recovery?
For me, recovery is celebrating any small incremental change or any big change, just honoring people's change process and what wellness means to them individually.
I like it. Celebrating incremental progress, anything at all, and what it means to them, and what it means to you. And I celebrate your process with you, and I'm gratified to be a part of it. So we talk about what people do for fun, and I notice you have an unusual hobby that I'm afraid to engage in personally, although I live next to a river in the woods, and I get to see a lot of things I could do. But and you don't have to talk about mushrooms, but what do you do for fun?
Yeah, I am obsessed with mushrooms and fungi, foraging, learning about them. And it's a hobby that was born out of a really dark period of my life. So when I entered into my wellness process, my recovery, I sort of reinvented myself as this like conqueror, right? I was running marathons, and then that wasn't enough. So I started training for ultra marathons, and not just like a normal running thing. I mean, I'm talking about these races where you like run in the mountains till your toenails fall off, and you like pay money to do this, right? So this is a wild sport where you have to carry all your own nutrition, and and so I was doing this trail running, and I also really loved like climbing mountains, and all my goals around my, dreams were revolved around these like physical activities, like whether it was like, climbing a mountain or running super far or like hiking for days. These are the things that I wanted to do. And it's a notion that hits really well with people. It's like, the traditional phoenix rising from the ashes, like, oh, she was really doing awful and almost died, but look at her now, she's standing on top of this mountain. And and it is beautiful. I had those moments where I was just hit with like deep gratitude for my body and being able to do these things, and the privilege to have gotten to the place I was at, that I was able to do those things. And I started experiencing some pain in my body, some like injuries, some chronic pain. And it took me to a really dark place because, I started asking those questions like, well, what was it all for then? Like I made all these big changes in my life, and now I can't do the things that make me happy. Like, what's the point, And it was a really, really tough place for me personally, just trying to figure out like what is my relationship to this world if I can't do the things that make me happy, and I also can't do the substances that make me happy. Like
Indeed.
what do I do now? So around that time, a friend introduced me or invited me rather to this like retreat. It was a 3-day retreat at a local place here in the Catskills in New York State. And I went, and for 3 days, I learned all about fungi, mushrooms, like how to forage, the ones that have medicinal properties, the ones that are delicious to eat. I've been a vegetarian for some years, so like I love to eat mushrooms. It's a fun thing to cook. And I just fell in love. It changed my relationship with being in the woods and being outside from this like conquering thing to actually like slowing down and being able to still be outside and do what I love, but in a way that's kinder to my body and doesn't like aggravate all of my pain. And it's been a really rewarding experience, and I become a little more obsessed as time goes on. I'm actually in the process of getting my wild medicinal and edible mushroom foraging license. It's like an actual license with my picture on it. That's
That's
good
so
in like
cool.
it's good in like a couple of states. So now I'm like leading mushroom walks to teach other people how to do this thing. And there's so many things about them that I love. The idea of the mycelium network, this underground
Mhm.
network that connects all living things. Because mushrooms are just the fruit, like the apple of a tree, and the tree we don't see. It's just everywhere under us, and every breath we take has mushroom spores in it. So anyway, I found a lot of comfort in the idea of the connection that these really amazing things that are out there have, and the potential for the healing that comes from them, and the medicinal quality. I love the idea in this age where for some people like health is such a difficult thing to achieve financially, that and also food, right? There's a way that if we have the right skills, we can actually like go in the woods and gather our own medicines, our own food. And it's just been a really like a great connector for me to some other really amazing people that have a lot to teach me about different stuff.
Wow. It's so meaningful and significant on so many levels. I did not realize. So I might have to check it out for sure. I love mushrooms. I fear mushrooms too. And I think it's a healthy fear, probably just not, knowing which ones are yummy and which ones, are not.
It's true. That's something that takes time. And one thing to know is that you can't die or get sick from touching any mushrooms. So
Yeah.
I encourage people to, pick them up, look at them, look at the underside, try to figure out what it is,
So
but don't
beautiful.
ever eat it unless you have like 3 people to confirm that you definitely have the right thing.
Right. Let's confirm. Oh man, that is so cool. I can't wait to share that with the world, because mushrooms are everywhere. And you say fungi, is that what they're called?
Fungi, tomato, tomato.
Yeah, I remember my freshman biology professor giving us a mnemonic device. She says there's no such thing as a fun guy.
Ah.
I was like, wait, what? Cool, 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 cool. So along with talking about a little bit about why we use drugs, why we stop the chaos, and how what our life looks like now, and how exciting it is, and what fun we have, and sharing it with others. On the show, we also kind of carry a message as well, and hopefully one day there'll be millions of listeners, which would be really sweet. Do you have a message to share with folks about?
Oh, for sure.
For sure. All right, hit me up.
You're not doing it wrong. If I could sum up my life in a nutshell is that I've been my own worst enemy, and always judging myself and thinking that I'm missing something, that there's some handbook that I didn't read or something I haven't tried yet. You know, you're not doing it wrong. Like, just keep going. There's love, there's connection, there's compassion. We just have to find the right places to get that from others, but also how to find it within ourselves. You know, this is a difficult existence. There's a lot of stress in the world right now. There's a lot of disconnection, dis-ease, disease, and all types of you know, things that are happening that are just atrocious, and it's very easy to get sucked down into that. But you know, as long as we are, you know, alive, as long as we are self-aware enough to know that we're alive and that we are human beings that are just doing the best we can, there's a chance to get better, to have a better day, a better moment, you know. And there's compassion out there. You know, just find your people, find where you feel safe, and don't accept the idea that, you know, there's a wrong door. Like, as long as we're just focusing on our wellness and what that looks like for us, it's not wrong.
Oh, you're not doing it wrong. Compassion is there. Find your people. I think that's a splendid message, and it resonated with me. Well, Megan, I'm so happy that you came on board and did this with me, and I'm looking forward to having more conversations with you about you know, all kinds of cool things and stuff.
Absolutely. I see a mushroom foraging walk in your future for sure.
Absolutely. All right, buddy. It's been wonderful.